said to someone that they then take offence to, which means you're going to probably just keep your mouth shut, which doesn't sound like the best of parties, does it really?
No.
Tricky one, isn't it? Because you're not at work, so it's not an office issue if, you know, some banter and it's taken the wrong way. But still, it's still a work environment, isn't it?
Yeah. If HR shows up, it's a work party. It's a work event.
HR shows up, I'm gone.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. And so even for us this year, first of all, it's the first year we're calling it a holiday party. I don't know how I felt about that.
Really? What, your company's doing that?
Yeah, they're calling it a holiday party.
Oh, no, well, no.
Yeah, I know. I voted against.
So they got rid of the word
Christmas.
Why?
Because we want to be inclusive.
How's it not inclusive to call it Christmas?
I know. Trust me.
Are you still going to go? I wouldn't bother going. I'd say no.
I am going to go, but I'm going to go dressed as Mrs. Claus, and it's going to be Christmassy, and I'm going to make sure that Christmas enters the door with me.
Yeah, you spread that Christian vibe.
100%. But outside of that, there is that element of HR showing up, and HR will be sober, and they've already prepped them to say, like, listen, this isn't your party. HR can have their party. This is your hangout.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone's being PC.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very good evening, hope you're well. I'm Ben Leo and this is Friday Night Live, only on GB News. Coming up, Nigel Farage threatens legal action if Kemi Badenoch doesn't apologise for saying the Reform UK membership ticker was fake. Reform's deputy leader, Richard Tice, joins me in just a few minutes. Elsewhere, Donald Trump wants Canada and Mexico to be the 51st and 52nd US states, and he's also threatening to seize the Panama Canal. Merry Christmas. As London is hit by a record downturn in affordable housing, will Labour find the answer to the rental crisis? And by the way, why is nobody talking about housing's links with immigration? And more than 700 migrants crossed the Channel illegally over Christmas and Boxing Day. So much for Smash the Gangs. Joining me this evening with their esteemed company is the comedian Diane Spencer, radio and TV broadcaster Alex Dyke, and the author and broadcaster Amy Nicole Turner. The row between Nigel Farage and Kemi Badenoch has deepened today, some would even say spiralled, with Reform UK hinting tonight there could be legal action taken against the Tory leader. It follows, of course, Reform's claims that it now has more members than the Conservative Party. That's according to the digital tracker you can see on your screens. However, Kemi has slammed the announcement as fake and accused Reform of issuing misleading figures. As you would expect, of course, Nigel Farage has since hit back, accusing her of being bitter, upset and angry. Joining me now is the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice. Good evening, Richard. Thank you for joining me. Merry Christmas. How was your Yuletide, may I ask first?
Well, it was splendid, but it's been made even better by this absolutely catastrophic, inexperienced naivety from the leader of the opposition. Well, the ex-opposition. We're obviously now the real opposition. But, I mean, Kemi Badenoch, I don't know what she had in her Christmas turkey or her Christmas pudding, but, I mean, just amateur hour. Absolutely extraordinary.
Richard, why do you have to be such Scrooges? It's the time of goodwill. Why do you have to be attacking the Tories attacking you? I mean, first of all, this all started because you projected Reform's ticker on CCHQ, right? You started it.
We've been generous. I mean, we made a nice Happy Christmas Kemi projection onto CCHQ. That was rather fun. You know, a bit of fun. Instead, she's responded by accusing Nigel and us at Reform of lying and fraud. I mean, that's the Scrooge from the Tory party, it seems to me. Look, the reality is she claims to be an engineer. I think what we've discovered over the last 36 hours is that she's a graduate engineer. She's got no experience. She doesn't know what she's doing. Frankly, if she thinks she's going to rewire the Tory party and rewire how to run this country, I think she'll take the country towards electrocution, frankly.
OK, Richard, OK, first of all, let me just square some numbers with you. How do you know that you've passed the Conservative Party's membership total?
Well, because that's the last total that they graced the country with. And they haven't been as transparent and open with their numbers as we have. So
that was from the leadership election, right?
Kemi's claimed their numbers might have gone up, but we know lots of our members who cancelled their Tory party membership and then got sent ballot papers. So all the evidence that we've got is that their number's probably too high.
Got it. I will get on to that. But, Richard, I just want to clarify, how do you know how many members they have? Because you're going off their total from the leadership election, right? You took the number of ballots and the turnout.
Well,
but that was some months ago. So you're comparing your numbers today to the Tories from months ago.
It was about 8 weeks ago.
Oh, so, 2 months ago, yeah.
And we do know that their membership collapsed in the last 2 years by some 40,000. So all the evidence is that their number is reducing, not increasing. The likelihood of their number increasing from the 131,000 to over 144,000, you got more chance of winning the lottery, frankly.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I just wanted to clarify. And Kemi has said, of course, overnight that, well, in that thread she issued on Boxing Day, that apparently the Tories have had a couple of thousand more members since that ballot. But look, there's talk of legal action tonight. Nigel hasn't gone full throttle and committed to it. He just said, I'm going to take 2 days to consider my options. What do you want from Kemi Badenoch? Do you want an apology? What do you want to resolve this?
Because it's the time of goodwill and we're looking forward to New Year, what she needs to do is just fess up. She's got it wrong. Just apologise. You know, actually, that's the big thing to do. We all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. Not even you and me, Ben. And when you get something wrong, you just say, look, I'm sorry, we got it wrong. And actually, you should get more credit for that. Just apologise. Say, Nigel, on this occasion, we got it wrong. And I'm sorry, and we'll move on. And we can look forward to the new battles in the new year in 2025. It's exciting to look forward to, isn't it?
It is exciting indeed. But what happens, Richard, if there is no apology? She's been silent thus far. She's been tweeting about everything else other than this situation, which seems to have been spiralling today. What happens in the days ahead if you hear no apology?
She'll look ridiculous. She'll look completely ridiculous.
Legal action?
And I think the demands will grow on her just to learn from this and say, I got it wrong. And the longer she leaves it, the worse it'll look for it. It really will. And look, I know it's hard for anybody to apologise, particularly in a senior position, but actually it's the big thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And let's just hope that she sees that, realises that, and says, as part of her New Year message to us at Reform, look forward to debating and challenging you next year, and I'm sorry for getting it wrong on this occasion.
OK, what about legal action then, if she doesn't apologise? That's in contention for defamation.
To be honest, we've been working so hard on this. Our social media team have done absolutely brilliant. Frankly, everyone's going to have a bit of a breather, enjoy the holidays, and let's see what happens in the new year.
Very diplomatic.
I'm optimistic, Ben. I think she's going to apologise.
OK. Just talk, before I introduce my panel to you, they have a question for you each, if you don't mind. Reform has gone today to Sky News, The Spectator, The Daily Telegraph and the FT, the Financial Times, to prove, as far as you're concerned, that your membership figures are right. Last time I looked, it was something like 141,000 and growing. What's happened today? Were all those publications and broadcasters satisfied that you're talking, or you're speaking the truth?
Indeed, they were shown basically the back-end database, how it works by our IT team, and a number of them actually were sort of IT specialists. And they've all then written up that they are satisfied, they've seen how it works, they've seen the evidence that Kemi's claim is completely wrong, they've seen how the numbers tick up at different times of the day. You get spikes when it's a busy time of the day, you get low times when, frankly, it's the middle of the night. So they've satisfied themselves, they've written it all up, and here's the other thing. We've said, look, we're happy to have a full audit from some Big Four audit firm of our numbers. We're transparent. We believe in our numbers. And whilst they're at it, they might as well audit the Tory numbers as well. And then we've got absolute clarity on the correct position.
Yeah, and I guess the slightly ironic thing for the Conservatives, Richard, is that Kemi was firing this tweet off talking about your membership numbers, and what's happened since then, it's blown up, it's made the BBC when it probably previously wouldn't have, and your members again have shot up as a result. So, goodness me. Who's advising Kemi?
Maybe before she apologises, I should say thank you, Kemi, for encouraging lots of others to join.
Let me just ask you, Richard, I don't know if you've had any intel on it, but who wrote that tweet? Was it Kemi sat at home on Boxing Day after some leftovers? Was it her advisor? Any ideas? Have you heard on the grapevine?
To be honest, I've no idea, but I suspect that it wasn't her. That's my hunch.
Interesting.
If I'm wrong about that, then no doubt she'll correct me. But let's wait and see. Maybe she can clarify all of that.
Well, that would be an easy way out for her to say, you know, wasn't me, disapprove of it, I apologise, let's move on and forget it, like you said. And just for clarity, for viewers at home, I did a show this morning on this channel. We've been inviting Kemi and indeed any other Tory shadow cabinet minister, Tory MP to come on and talk about this and give their side of the argument. We've emailed CCHQ many times. We've had radio silence. So just for clarity...
What does that tell you? What does that tell you? I think we know what that tells you. They're embarrassed.
Yeah, OK.
They've got nothing to say. They know they're in the wrong.
All right, let's introduce my panel now because they've got some questions for you. Diane Spencer, you're up first. What's your question for Richard Tice?
Hello, Richard. My question for you is, where do you draw your inspiration from when you're coming up with ideas for your party's manifesto?
Oh, great question. Well, we call it a contract, not a manifesto, because the latter is sort of a synonym for broken promises. But our contract this year was a combination of input from lots of people on various different topics, and they came up to myself, to Nigel, and we approved it and signed it off, and then and we stand by it. And since then, frankly, some of our concerns and anxieties and predictions have been proven right.
Right, so I want to know what your inspiration was. Like these people who come to you with their ideas, who are they? Why do you trust them so much? Where is your inner guidance?
Because these people are reform members who've been involved for a long time, who've got particular expertise in certain areas. But, for example, our very first policy from over 3 years ago was the economic policy to lift the starting point to pay income tax to £20,000 from £12,500. That was my idea. I said to our economic advisor, I said, how much does that cost? And we worked it out. That was literally our first policy.
OK. Alex Stark, your question, please.
Good evening, Richard. Every once in a while, there's a big personality, the man of the hour. Could have been Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Branson a few years ago, Chris Evans. At the moment, it's Nigel Farage. And I look at you, and I'm a fan of yours, but I think you've got... Your timing is a bit like, and you're a child of the 60s, so you'll remember Pete Best of the Beatles. He leaves just before they record the proper version of Love Me Do, and he just spends the rest of the 60s looking at what could have been his. So my question to you is, you stood down in June. Do you regret it?
Not at all, far from it. We're a team. And the great thing about a team is that you push on together, and 2 + 2, let's try and make it equal more than 4 than less than 4. So, no, look, I'm delighted. We're all delighted. But be under no illusion. It's not easy. This is hard work. We've had teams working throughout the whole Christmas period. We're just working our socks off. And, we're getting more things right than we get wrong. When we get it wrong, look, we have to admit it.
OK. Right. Amy Nicole-Turner, your question, please.
It's interesting to hear you say that you're a team, because Reform is a private limited company, and ultimately Nigel Farage is the main shareholder. He gets final say on absolutely everything. So when people pay £25 to be a member of Reform, what does the fact that Reform is a private limited company, what is the implication for the members? What is the benefit to membership? What does it mean for them?
Oh, Amy, I wish you'd been at our conference in September when we had about 4,000 people.
You didn't invite me.
Well, next time you must come.
Thank you.
Because we approved a new constitution that's going through the legal process. That obviously you have to get approved by the Electoral Commission. That gives people basically the party moves as part of its sort of growth and its maturity to be a members' party. And many of the things that the other parties, like the Tory party, have in terms of policy, changing the leader, electing a leader, all of that is very, very similar. And we've got some 400 branches now set up. People have voted on to that. They'll vote for the candidates. They'll have input into local policies. So look, you know, we're evolving, we're maturing, we think quite nicely and quite successfully.
OK, panel, thank you for that. Richard, just one more passing question, if you don't mind. You've been very generous with your time and I appreciate it. People are suggesting that just because you've got a lot of members and you've now overtaken the Tories, according to your figures, that they're saying, look, Jeremy Corbyn had 400,000 members under the Labour Party and he was smashed at the election. What do you say to that?
Look, in a sense, that's the great leveller, isn't it? That's why we'll never be complacent. We'll always work harder, hopefully, than the competition. And we can never take anything for granted. Look, we believe in competition. It's a competitive world out there. We've got to keep proving ourselves to potential voters. And, you know, also, let's remember, we're delighted at the growth in membership. That's fantastic. But if the members are not happy with what we're doing, then they can take their membership to other parties. So rest assured, we've got to keep delivering. That's the bottom line.
Richard, thank you very much. Happy Christmas to you and your family, and happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Thanks for your time. Right, as I've said to Richard just then, if you missed it, we have asked Kemi Badenoch today to come on GB News, anyone's show, doesn't matter who it's with, to give her side of the story, or indeed a shadow cabinet member or a Tory MP, whoever. We emailed CCHQ and we've had radio silence all day. I just want to make that clear because there's a few comments today saying, you know, it's too much reform, you're making a story out of nothing. We want to get both sides of the story here, which is why we have extended our invitations many times today to the Tories, and they're not keen to come on thus far, I assume, because we've had no response. Panel, thank you for that. Did you enjoy quizzing Richard Tice?
Yeah,
thought I'd be democratic and get you involved. Yeah. What's your thoughts, Diane? Do you think this row is much ado about nothing?
Well, I think that if Nigel is going to do legal action, I want to see it switched into gear. I can't stand it when people say, I'm going to get legal on you, and then nothing occurs. Like, so if he's going to do it, like, don't tease that you're going to do it and then don't do it.
Well, is Nigel not giving Kemi a chance to apologise? He says, I will make my decision in 2 days. No?
This is Nigel Farage's best-case scenario, let's be honest. Like, he set the trap, she fell in it, now he can go, oh, my God, I'm a victim, and I need to get legal on it, and it'll be another debanked, oh, I've been debanked, oh, I've been defamed. Like, this is Nigel Farage's best-case scenario.
I'm sorry, he was, just going back to that old story, he was debanked.
Yeah.
Excellently, brilliant PR for him. What great luck.
Dame Alison Rose, the CEO of NatWest Group, she quit as a result of it. So he did have a case there.
Nigel Farage he is a victim. He's a victim, once again.
But what is interesting is that if the membership clearly has taken hold, and if it is more than the Conservatives need to actually pay attention to this, because Reform is a grassroots organisation. And if people are paying that £25 to that company owned by Nigel Farage to sign up to the club, then they've signed up. And the Conservatives can... I mean, like, Kemi Badenoch made it out like Farage had been planning this, like, for a couple of days. Did you see in her tweet? She sort of said, oh, I know that this is all part of your scheduling. You even sent this tweet. You probably booked it in. So I don't think she's helping herself. This seems to me to be a petty squabble, which she shouldn't have picked this fight.
Yeah, Alex, this isn't just an attack on the Tories for the sake of it. If Keir Starmer had made such a blunder by coming out publicly on Twitter and saying something as silly as that, which, if indeed the figures are right and they haven't faked the numbers, it was a silly comment to make, if true. It's a mistake that needs calling out, no?
Well, think of it from Nigel Farage's point of view, Ben. He is a brilliant PR man. He's up there with Donald Trump. He can now give this 2 days to let it breathe, because the story's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The Tories have just gone into his honey trap, and now he's going to wait. And he's so switched on. He's so switched on. He knows that a vote, when people vote, that we've got the local elections coming up in May, hopefully, right? Yeah. And he knows for reform in any kind of election, I would imagine that one person votes because they like Nigel Farage for reform, another one votes because they like the policies, then there'd be a vote for the people who don't like Labour and a vote for the people that don't like the Conservatives. And that's why this is snowballing.
OK. Nice. Well, Reform can bang on about members all they want. I guess the first litmus test is indeed those local council elections in May. If they stumble, well, some councils already, Essex, I think, or Thurrock, is on the cusp of being cancelled, if not already. I'll have to check on that. But if that is the litmus test. If they don't get council seats, as they've been promising, then the membership numbers really, I mean, don't mean that much.
It came second in 98 seats.
Reform?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Red Wall, they came second in 89 of the 92 seats that Labour won. A Conservative Party spokesperson has told GB News, despite not wanting to come on, Reform has delivered a Labour government that has cruelly cut winter fuel payments for 10 million pensioners, put the future of family farming and food security at risk, and launched a devastating raid on jobs which will leave working people paying the price. A vote for Reform this coming May is a vote for a Labour council. Only the Conservatives can stop this. OK.
What a
Did you like
load of
that?
Yeah, I thought that was naff.
Why were you giggling at that? What's funny?
I was giggling at that because that's ridiculous. That's not... They were saying, oh, it's all Reform's fault that Labour got in. No, it's your fault. You're the Conservatives. You failed.
Well, I guess the argument is they did split the vote. I mean, in my seat...
The Conservatives failed, and they can't blame other parties. They failed, they screwed up.
Reform could have done them a favour and not stood the candidates in all of them.
And I thought you were feisty.
OK, we've got to move on because if you didn't get everything on your Christmas list this year, how about £50,000 in tax-free cash to start 2025? It's our biggest cash prize. Today, here's all the details you need to win.
There's still plenty of time to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize ever. An incredible £50,000. What would you spend £50,000 on in the coming year? Spectacular holidays, a brand new car, home improvements, or maybe you'd just like to save it for a special occasion. For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Very good luck to you. Now, Donald Trump, have you seen this stateside? He suggested the United States could take control of Canada, Greenland, Mexico and the Panama Canal in a series of Christmas Day social media posts. You thought Kemi Badenoch had a bad Christmas on Twitter. New data shows the housing crisis is also going to get worse, indeed in London and all across the UK. Is the government going to tackle the root causes? Back in just a tick, you're watching Friday Night Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Headliners. Tomorrow's papers tonight. Every night from 11 p.m.
This is Miss Universe fans hailing the end of wokeness and crediting the Trump effect after a biological woman, there's still some of them around apparently, has won the 2024 crown. She's Miss Denmark, because obviously the last decade, you know, it's just been a beast transgender smurfs from Papua New Guinea. They're the only people allowed to win any beauty contest, you know what I mean? You're not allowed to have any...
There's some of the trans women have won these, you definitely wouldn't say no.
Honestly, I've seen some, but I've seen some of them that didn't, and some that, you know, were clearly just there out of, you know... Well,
have there been more than one trans woman who's won Miss? I didn't realise this.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've got a chart at home. This one isn't trans. Victoria Kjær Thielvig, 21 of Denmark. Everything about that description says attractive.
Nazis. Okay, yeah. I have seen pictures of her. She is very attractive.
Yes.
She is.
Yes.
I don't know exactly how to put it, but she is kind of not retro or vintage or so. She's quite an old-fashioned notion of beauty, like just absolutely ice blue eyes, you know, absolutely extraordinary, clear skin and gorgeous blonde hair. I mean, it's absolutely kind of mid-70s, you know,
No, apparently the sanity's returned to the beauty pageant industry, so they can get back to, you know, sexualising 4-year-olds and promoting anorexia like they used to. So
there is that. She will earn an estimated $250,000 annual salary working full-time as Miss Universe and will live in a luxurious New York City apartment as she carries out her duties, which involve glass coffee tables and rich Saudi businessmen.
Glass coffee tables. worlds and visiting other planets and solar systems and constellations, I would imagine, in Miss Universe.
Being concerned about animals.
Yes, absolutely, and wanting to bring about world peace. I miss those days.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Friday Night Live with me, Ben Leo, just for this evening. Some emails coming in. Thank you for those. Linda on the Farage reform Conservative row brewing today and overnight. You said, hi, Ben. Kemi shouldn't have behaved how she did, and it's clear the Tories yet again have chosen the wrong leader. However, Richard Tice and Nigel Farage are in danger of coming across as bullies. It's not a good look. And there's one more here from, where are you, Terry? Good evening, Terry. As a Reform member, I'm not happy with Reform playing schoolyard politics with the Tories. Two very interesting emails. Thank you for those. Now, let's go stateside, because Donald Trump, he's urging Canada and Mexico to become the 51st and 52nd US states. He also says the United States should seize the Panama Canal, and in addition, the states should buy Greenland. Take a look at this.
We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year. We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state.
He posted a tweet with a picture of the US flag, in the Panama Canal, and said it belongs to the United States. There we go. I think it's an AI-generated image. He says, welcome to the United States Canal. Panel, should Canada and Mexico be annexed to be the new 51st and 52nd US states?
Well, Donald Trump has a history of saying things he doesn't mean. And like Nigel Farage, he's a great headline grabber. I don't believe him about Panama. I think he's got a point about Greenland. There's only about 56,500 people who live there.
So you can just buy it then. Just buy it.
Well, it would be great for American security and our security. America could offer. They haven't got much in Greenland because, of course, Greenland was Iceland and Iceland was Greenland.
I was actually looking at going there. I went to Iceland for my honeymoon and I was looking. We flew over Greenland and it looked amazing, just like that beautiful.
Yeah, but there's nothing there, is there?
There's a small town there. Yeah. But anyway, Denmark owned Greenland. So I mean, what are Denmark going to say about it?
Anyway, I don't think he's that crazy on that. And to think that America are bankrolling Canada for $100 billion, why? I thought they had a very, very successful economy in Canada. I didn't know that. I was shocked.
Trump's point is there being the trade deal with Canada, the US is being stitched up by that amount, and he's saying, look, if we combine economies, we'll all be richer.
Yeah, and then your Canada's taxes will be coming down 60% because of it. I think it's a great idea. I think the guy, he's a genius. He and Elon Musk, together with Nigel Farage, the future of the world is safe.
Oh, Diane, what do you think of that?
Well, number one, I think it's a little insulting to the people of Greenland that you go, oh, there's only 56,500 people who live there. I mean, people are up in arms over the 35,000 people that came across the channel in boats to the UK. That's 35,000. There's 56,500 people in Greenland. They might have their own culture. They might want their own sovereign law. And just because there's a tiny amount, so does this mean that you agree with, like, the early settlers going in and smashing up the Maoris?
What I'm saying is
because there was only a small pocket of the Maoris, weren't there? So who cares about them?
Why don't we come to a deal with Greenland and use it as an offshore processing site for small boat migrants?
I think for all... What?
Good idea, no?
What?
Offshore processing?
I think we need to have a word
Let's get the
with Greenland,
flights off
and I'm not sure they'll go for it. But who knows? It's Christmas. We can always ask.
Interestingly, Iceland, they don't accept any illegal migrants or asylum seekers. Last time I checked, anyway. As I said, I was there last year and I was doing some inquiries, as you would, on your honeymoon.
I mean,
about
technically...
migrant influxes in Canada.
That is so romantic,
Iceland,
Ben. Well done. I mean, technically, when you rock up on a boat, that is not acceptance. That's kind of just, oh, well, they're here now. Now we have to deal with them. Like, but do they not accept any sort of...
That's what I was told last year. I think they have, even if they do, I think it's a very small proportion of illegal migrants or asylum seekers.
This is a terrible idea, and
I don't think it is a terrible idea. If you said to the people in Greece, in Greenland, look, you haven't really got that much going on here. We're going to put in nice restaurants and dance halls, and you can all have a free car from Ford or GM Motors. You can be part of America, and you will be safe. As far as arms are concerned and weapons, then what's not to like?
Amy, how do you think Donald Trump's tenure is going to be? A success?
Do you know, when I heard these quotes, I thought, just Donald Trump, he said a few of those little liqueur chocolates, but then I did remember that in January he will be the president of the United States. So,
Are you going to the inauguration with your MAGA hat on?
But do you know what? No, because this is the thing. Everyone was saying, Donald Trump, you know, he's gonna bring peace to the world. And now he's like, right, I'll have Canada, I'll have Greenland, I'll have that. It's not sounding as if he's going to stick
I think he'd do it amicably.
to finding world peace within the first 28 days.
I don't think he's sending B-52 stealth bombers across to Toronto to seize Canada. I mean, I think it will be done amicably.
Ultimately, he's the budget to change every single flag in the United States to have 52 stars on it. Nobody has that budget.
Might create a few jobs. You never know. He's all about jobs, isn't he? Right, we move on because new research from housing charity Shelter shows that 2/3 of private renters are struggling to pay their rent. So is migration, I'm asking panel, a primary driver of the housing crisis, or are systematic issues such as insufficient supply, rising costs and policy failures more to blame? Amy?
Well, the housing stock was decimated by the Conservative government. Affordable housing was not available for anyone, regardless of their migration status. So I think we need to replenish that stock, and it would seem that Labour have started that off quite nicely.
So the issue is, Amy, successive governments haven't replenished that stock. They haven't built houses. So why, at the same time, in the knowledge of that situation, would you welcome millions of more migrants into the country who need housing?
For example, there's a shortage of construction workers. Well, how are you going to build the houses if you don't have the staff to build?
OK, so you import 2 million construction workers. Where are they going to live?
If we look at what Labour are going to do as of January, their plans are pretty good. So they've abolished right to buy.
Hang on, Amy.
So that will maintain the housing stock.
I said, where are they going to live?
You're asking Amy to solve all of these problems, you know. I mean, is this your wheelhouse?
He thinks I'm Angela Rayner.
Which
is interesting because, you know, you've got the right
I look more like Angela Rayner, to be fair.
OK, Diane, is migration exacerbating the housing crisis?
Oh, most likely, yes. I'm sure that there is definitely an effect. You can't have lots and lots of people coming in, and it does take time to build houses. But what also is an issue, like, for example, they just built 3 huge, apartment complexes just down the road from where I live. But they are all on a dodgy deal, which is sort of shared ownership. And none of them are really accessible for people. You are always enslaved to somebody else. They're not good deals when you look at them.
Shared ownership mortgages you're talking about?
Yeah.
Right.
But the deal, because we looked at them and it was not a good deal. And that kind of thing is also hampering the amount of housing, because there's loads of housing there, but people just don't want to buy it.
You think maybe people will be reluctant to buy houses because they're getting involved in not-so-traditional mortgages, for example?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're getting stitched up.
But the thing is, there's not actually a lack of housing. There's so many empty houses in London that are owned. There's a lack of affordable housing.
So you've said that twice now. What is affordable housing? What does that mean?
If you freed up all of the houses and all of the rooms in London that are actually there empty, not used, just owned as assets, there wouldn't be as much of a housing crisis.
Well, I mean, how do you square that? You've got Labour wants another 2.5 million...
Because people are buying properties in London so that they appreciate in value and they're not inhabited. So you've got loads of houses that have no one living in them in London.
OK, well,
I'm not so sure that's true.
Well, it is true.
I'm not so sure that's true. Ben, I was watching you this morning, and you had...
Someone was.
Yeah, and you had Andy Williams on, talking about landlords, and I was pulling my hair out. I was shouting at the TV. I've got 20 years' experience being a landlord.
Oh, you're a landlord, are you?
Yeah, and I've had some great tenants, but since lockdown, I've had 3 really bad tenants. And I'm talking about my properties are 2 up, 2 down houses, right? And I've had 3 bad tenants who won't leave, who wouldn't leave. One lady ended up costing me £18,000 because she just wouldn't leave and she wouldn't pay the rent. And then when I got in there, she had left all her stuff in there. I had to get rid of all her stuff. I had to redecorate. And these landlords... A lot of them are people like me. They've been left a little bit of money, some inheritance, and they've put it into a property or two, and the tenants have so many rights. I think someone's got to stand up for the landlords, because we're doing the government's job. The government don't want these people, so we're doing the job.
But you know the leading cause of homelessness is evictions. So people are made...
You can't evict them.
Well, the renters reform will make that more difficult. But what I'm saying is, if you have a problem with homelessness and then you also have a problem with evictions...
Alex, correct me if I'm wrong, but the current... I mean, Labour are going to make it worse. They're scrapping, what is it, Section 21? Is it 21?
Yeah.
Or 24? Section 21, no-fault evictions. So at the moment, if you want to get a tenant out, they don't start paying their rent. They have up to... Is it 6 months or 3 months? I think it's extended during COVID.
It got extended during COVID. It was 2 months, and then it went up to 4 months.
So they can screw you for no rent initially. Then you have to apply to the courts to recover the property, and then then you need to get the bailiffs. It takes months and months.
It was 18 months for me.
18 months for Alex.
18
and all
months.
that time, the landlord is paying their hard-earned money. They're paying the rent for the tenant. Then eventually they'll get out the house. The house is a tip. You have to redecorate it. Labour are going to make that 10 times worse with these no-fault evictions.
And, can I just say, the lady who was with me for 18 months, when she did go, she wouldn't surrender the tenancy. So legally, I wasn't allowed to go in.
Diane, do you feel sorry for landlords like Alex, or was he just a...
I feel sorry for his particular circumstance. It sounds very difficult and very stressful, and I wouldn't want anybody to go through that. On the other hand, I do think that there should be... almost a limit in a weird way, because I know that there are a lot of people who can afford to buy the smaller properties and they buy them to rent them out. But is there not an idea that if there was a limit on how many properties a landlord could own, perhaps there would be more properties that are smaller available for other people to buy?
Actually, with the last government, if you bought 6 properties, you didn't pay stamp duty, so they actually incentivise bulk buying properties to rent out.
Well, no. The Tories ended up introducing the higher rate of stamp duty.
6
so
properties, no stamp duty.
And the Conservative Party...
so, yeah, maybe 2, 3, but if you buy 6 or more, no stamp duty.
And the Tories scrapped tax relief on buy-to-lets as well. So the Tories screwed landlords as well.
Also, finally, Ben, on this, from me, there's so much more in the way of paperwork, certificates and forms and checks. It's making it harder and harder for landlords to be landlords, and a lot of them are just bailing and thinking, what's the point?
I agree, it's a joke. Thank you, panel. Up next, official figures show that more than 150,000 migrants have crossed the Channel in small boats since records began in 2018. Will we ever get a grip of this crisis? Also, reports show that the size of the civil service is set to balloon under Labour, with the government delegating more power than ever to unelected officials. It's Quango chaos. Is this a danger to democracy? Back in a tick.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into this weekend, there's still going to be lots of cloud and murk around, also some drizzle, but likely to see some brighter skies by the time we reach Sunday. And where we're seeing those areas of more persistent rain and drizzle is just to the far northwest of the country, where we do have a frontal system, and elsewhere we do have high pressure, bringing lots of settled conditions, but lots of cloud and moisture trapped underneath that high. And it remains fairly similar as we head into the overnight period. Still plenty of cloud around, a chance we could see some drizzle with more persistent areas of rain just to the far northwest of Scotland, slowly edging its way into western parts of Northern Ireland by the early hours of Saturday. And those cloudy skies means temperatures aren't going to change too much compared to what they were during the day, mostly in the mid-single figures. To start off the weekend then, across the northwest of Scotland, a damp start with outbreaks of rain, but to the very far north we may see some clearer spells, though we can't rule out some showers just moving in around coasts. And elsewhere across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, still plenty of cloud around, some outbreaks of rain and drizzle just to the west of Northern Ireland, and fairly similar across England and Wales too. Cloudy with some fog around, some plenty of grey skies around to start the weekend too, and still some drizzly outbreaks, particularly around hilly areas. And it remains fairly similar through much of the day, though those longer spells of rain just moving into the Scottish borders, northern parts of England towards the end of the day. And clearer to the north of this, may see some sunny spells here, but still plenty of showers moving in around coasts. And temperatures around the same, once again struggling under cloudier skies, so feeling chilly where you do see the grey skies. And then for Sunday, once again, still plenty of cloud around, but by the afternoon likely to see a few more sunnier spells, but still plenty of rain across Scotland and some quite strong winds here at times for the second half of the weekend too. But on the whole, likely the better day of the weekend for many, but turning unsettled as we head into the new year with strong winds and some heavy outbreaks of rain.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, for a frank and honest discussion with those in power that cuts through the spin and gets to the heart of the issues shaping our nation.
You haven't confirmed that you want to stand as leader, but you haven't ruled it out either.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial. Is he indecisive? Incompetent? I deliver the dose of reality Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Jubes and Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect, and then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Ben Leo with you on Friday Night Live, only on GB News. Now, more than 700 migrants have crossed the Channel illegally over Christmas and Boxing Day. Merry Christmas to you. So much for Smash the Gangs. Panel, who do we blame for this? Or is there to blame? Is it a good thing, Amy? We've got 700...
I don't think it's ever going to be a good thing
No?
that desperate people are feeling that they have no other option but to board a flimsy dinghy on Christmas Day.
I guess they found refuge. They're on home soil, just playing devil's advocate.
No, well, you know what I'm going to say, because I say the same old thing. We need safe and legal routes, and that would be a good thing.
Yeah, but there is an issue here, because they are leaving France. Now, France is it not good?
Pretty safe country last time.
Why is France not safe?
But if you haven't had your claim processed in France and you're living in, say, a tent in Calais, wouldn't you want to push forward and try your luck?
What, and risk your wife and children's lives in some dodgy dinghy coming across the Channel in December?
Well, again, if you're that desperate to risk your life like that, something is pushing you that I can't even comprehend.
So what is happening in France? So clearly something is happening that is different between the UK and the France. Clearly everybody wants to leave France and come over to the UK. Now we need to find out who is selling the boats. That's my big question, because surely a boat that's being made like that is made of a specific material in a specific way, and it's being bought by a specific person. Would you not be suspicious if this guy comes in and he says, "Can I have 100 of those boats?" You're like, really? What do you need them for?
They're coming from Turkey, aren't they? Boats? They're custom built.
But the thing is,
Germany.
Most migrants will seek refuge in the closest neighbouring country. 90% or something crazy like that.
Ben, could I just...
It's a very few migrants who actually do make the journey to the UK.
Few?
It's
Amy, we've had nearly 40.
misleading to suggest, out of all the people seeking asylum around the world, I think we take 0.1%.
That's too many.
So we are
Amy,
more than equipped to do this.
40,000 a year. They come across the Channel, we don't know who they are, what their criminal history is, where they're from, what their intentions are. They lob their phones and their passports in the Channel. They rock up, they get free NHS dentistry, they get a plush hotel costing taxpayers...
It's not a plush hotel.
They are plush hotels.
You know this.
Amy, I passed so many people sleeping rough on the streets over Christmas, shivering, spending Christmas alone, and yet these guys, again, strange men from faraway lands, we don't know who they are, rolling up, freebies, money to spend on an Aspen card from the Home Office, living in hotels, Wi-Fi, someone who has
That's a legal requirement we have to people seeking refuge.
Right.
We don't have the same legal requirements to the people on the streets, but again, that's a political choice. If we wanted to solve homelessness, we could. We did during COVID. We had the everyone in policy, all sorted out fine.
Ben,
it's a political choice.
Can I just make this point? Because I think there's a bigger thing here, and that is there must be a reason why the Tories didn't stop it and why Labour have been absolutely useless with it. When we've got the Army and the Navy and the SAS and Special Forces, what are we not being told? There must be a reason why they've just not gone and blown those empty boats out of the water across the channel with no migrants in them. I'm not suggesting they'd have migrants in them, but if you wanted to stop the boats, you would go and attack the boats in France. You would send the SAS in or someone like that.
The Navy won't do it.
No one's thinking this through, because I don't hear anyone saying what's going to happen in 30 or 40 years' time when all of these migrants need to be looked after because their health isn't what it is and they've got to go into care homes and residential homes.
Who do you think is going to be staffing their care homes?
There's something much, much bigger at play. Why is it not being stopped? Because we, the people, all want it stopped.
Are you suggesting it's intentional? I mean, what's your theory?
I don't know, but I think this could be bigger than politics in Britain. This could be bigger than the Tories and bigger than Labour. And actually, if Reform get in, would they stop it? Remember, Donald Trump was going to build that wall, and he never did.
Well, Richard Tice says that there is maritime law under the UN Convention of the Law of the Seas, I think it's Article 52 as far as I remember, which says that you can turn back hostile, I think is the word. Again, this is completely off the top of my head, probably butchering it, but hostile or unfamiliar vessels. So that's how Reform, Diane, say that they can turn the boats back into Australia.
Now, I think that you have a two-pronged attack. The way to solve it, which we haven't really seen yet, is that you need to actually deal with, well, actually, three prongs. You need to deal with the people who are already here and have vanished into thin air. So, like when they were doing all the raids on the car washers, you know, you need to identify where these people have actually gone. Once you've identified them, then we need a place to store them. And, of course, the Bibby Stockholm, things like that.
Store them.
Well,
they are human beings, Diane.
Yes, they are human beings, but I'm talking on a broad sense, a place that they can be
I think we need detention centres.
And then processed. And then there's that final step of staying going. But you're right, you do have a reason to turn a boat away if people are turning up and they do have no identification. You don't know what their intentions are, and if it's just to come and take from the state, that's not a good intention.
But Diane makes a really good point. Diane makes a really good point there. We're all talking about those who came over Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day. What about all those who are already here that we then kind of forget about because we're so busy talking about the ones that are on their way?
Yeah, indeed. I've always said I think we need detention centres. If you come across the channel on a small boat illegally, you'll be living in a detention centre, a massive warehouse, Amazon-style warehouse. Asylum will be refused. Your claim will be refused straight away.
Or it may not. It may be processed, and they may go, yes, you do. I mean, you didn't come over the right way, but
OK. All right, there we go. We move on after the break because the King Charles, has sparked controversy with his Christmas message by delving into politics. Did you see this? I'm Ben Leo, only on GB News. Back in a tick.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're hoping to escape the grey skies of the UK and seek some sunshine across Europe, then western parts are your best bet over the next few days. With high pressure in charge here, areas of Iberia, southern France and into Italy are going to see a good amount of brightness at the moment. In the east, though, we've got Storm Elena affecting parts of Greece, Cyprus and Turkey. This is bringing strong winds and heavy rain, and this will be continuing over the next few days to come as well.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Bansky's Girl with Balloon is arguably one of the artist's most recognisable images. So when a limited edition print signed by the artist was stolen from Grove Gallery in London, an investigation was launched by the Metropolitan Police's flying squad. The work was thankfully retrieved. The desire to own great works of art has once again become evident this week, albeit a little further afield on the continent. Police in Italy have uncovered a criminal network forging artworks by Banksy, Andy Warhol, Pablo Picasso and others. Investigators said that they've seized more than 2,100 fake pieces of art with a potential market value of about £165 million. With me to discuss that case is the Chief Executive of Grove Gallery, James Ryan.
The art world needs to tighten up. It is known as a bit of a Wild West out there because people will try and chance it with these forgeries. You're quite right, there's only one actual original, but even auction houses have been hoodwinked before.
The burglary that you suffered is sub judice, so we have to be careful what we say about it. But it must have been a bit of a shock to you. I mean, was it a broken window, a smashed door?
At 10, 11 o'clock at night and just hammer straight through, shoulder barging through the door and then in and out, you know, gone in 60 seconds. I must say, I know...
Obviously, that a targeted attack. The person would have known what he or she was after. Yeah.
Absolutely. But I must say, I know they cop a lot of, flack, the police force, but the flying squad got the artwork back within 3 days. They were fantastic. I've never heard or seen, other than the Thomas Crown affair type film, I just didn't think it'd be happening to little old me, in Fitzrovia, but it did, and thankfully we got it back.
GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news,
Will, please bring us up to date.
or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons,
Very, very curious.
we bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Ben Leo with you on Friday Night Live, only on GB News. Thank you for your emails. Lots of you talking, of course, about the migrant crisis, the small boats crisis, 750 arriving over the course of a couple of days, Boxing Day, Christmas Day. Annette, you've said, I live in West Sussex, me too, snap. 3 homeless people died over Christmas. Why? Yeah, precisely my point, Annette. Imagine if we gave the same concern and priority over homeless people, native Brits, as we did small boat migrants, we might be doing a little bit better. Martin, you say migrants should be homed in hotels and other places near to where Amy lives?
They actually... Do you know what? Good story. So where I live, we had a migrant hotel for years. I've spoken about it loads on this channel.
Did you volunteer there?
And no, I bought them lots of things, though, all the time. They were great.
You bought them gifts?
Yeah, the whole community, we really looked out for this migrant hotel. This is an interesting story. It's just closed. And they've processed their claims, and now that
Where have they gone?
I don't know, but it's reopened as a hotel, and they are living their lives.
They've gone to a bigger hotel down the road.
Anne, you don't know where they've gone?
I think they probably just are now in society, living their lives like you or me.
What gifts did you get
They didn't want to live in the hotel. They were from Afghanistan.
I'm sure they enjoyed living in a hotel if they're from Afghanistan. What gifts did you get them?
It wasn't really gifts, was it?
Donations?
We bought them clothes, we bought toys and games for the little kids.
Oh, that's sweet.
I was really proud of the town that I live in and the way they responded to this.
All right, well, you wouldn't mind then if any more pop up near you.
Not really.
Janet, you said, well said, Ben, a warehouse-style detention centre would work well. Give them food and water, nothing else. If they're fleeing terror, they would be happy to be safe. Thank you for those comments. Right, let's move on to our final topic of the evening, because the King, Charles, he's presented his annual Christmas message on Christmas Day, but it seems the public response has been a little bit mixed. Some have disagreed with the King's praise of Britain as a multicultural success story. Panel, Diane, what do you think of the King's speech? Did you tune in over your turkey?
I don't really tune in to the royal speech.
Did you zone out?
I do, very much so. I've got enough to deal with. But, I mean, I'm not a royalist. despite my name, because I do feel that a lot of money goes to a place that is held unaccountable for how it spends it, which I don't agree with.
His speech, good or bad?
His speech, I mean, the only things that I picked up from it were the points where he laid out basically what Labour were going to do. And one of the things that I enjoyed about that speech was the fact that, yeah, the water treatment people are going to be held responsible for what they do. I'm pretty pleased about that. I'm glad Thames Water are going to be held responsible for pumping sewage
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
sea. Good.
Alex, were you exercised by the King's speech like some people are?
I wanted to like it, Ben, but it was a woke speech for the BBC and Boots and Jaguar and Bud Light as far as I was concerned. And I just think Charles just sounded so out of touch. He didn't sound to me like a man of the people, but then again, he's not really a man of the people, is he? Because he's the king. And, you know, those poor babies that were murdered in Southport in the summer, they weren't mentioned.
Yeah.
And I think they should have been. And that was Britain at its boiling point. You then saw people, they're called the far right, and what they did was awful.
Yeah.
But a lot of those people were granddads who had and didn't have criminal records, and they were pushed to boiling point. I'm not excusing it, but I think Charles missed the point.
Yeah, a few people have said he didn't mention the poor babies in Southport. Amy, what did you think of the speech? Were you happy with it? You think he's a good king?
I think in that speech, let's just take the speech in isolation. I think he came across as a nice, kind king.
Right.
I liked it. But I think the best bit was when he pointed out that what we saw over the summer, there were far more people who came to clean it up than who came to actually do the damage.
But he was the criticism he's received is because he was praising multiculturalism and saying what a success it's been. Arguably, it's not been a success by a lot of people's metrics.
No.
Well, by this channel's metrics.
No, I mean, and also people who don't support this channel.
I just don't see it
hang on, Amy.
anywhere else but in
All right,
the studio.
No, I mean, you should... Honestly, when I gig up north and people sort of are willing to talk to me about this... Oh, God, I'll defer to you. Well, no, you talk about, like, the scandal with the grooming gangs and things like that. There are genuine people who have been affected.
OK, panel, thank you very much. Amy, you say by this channel's metrics, but we are smashing Sky News day in, day out, the BBC News channel, even some terrestrial channels now, so... a good proportion of the public do agree with what we're doing on this channel. Diane, Alex, Amy, thank you very much. Thank you, viewers at home as well. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm back tomorrow from 9 p.m. and it's Josh Howie up next. Good night.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. As we head into this weekend, there's still going to be lots of cloud and murk around, also some drizzle, but likely to see some brighter skies by the time we reach Sunday. And where we're seeing those areas of more persistent rain and drizzle is just to the far northwest of the country, where we do have a frontal system. And elsewhere, we do have high pressure, bringing lots of settled conditions, but lots of cloud and moisture trapped underneath that high. And it remains fairly similar as we head into the overnight period. Still plenty of cloud around, a chance we could see some drizzle with more persistent areas of rain just to the far northwest of Scotland, slowly edging its way into western parts of Northern Ireland by the early hours of Saturday. And those cloudy skies means temperatures aren't going to change too much compared to what they were during the day, mostly in the mid-single figures. To start off the weekend, then across the northwest of Scotland, a damp start with outbreaks of rain, but to the very far north we may see some clearer spells, though we can't rule out some showers just moving in around coasts. And elsewhere across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, still plenty of cloud around, some outbreaks of rain and drizzle just to the west of Northern Ireland, and fairly similar across England and Wales too. Cloudy with some fog around, some plenty of grey skies around to start the weekend too, and still some drizzly outbreaks, particularly around hilly areas. And it remains fairly similar through much of the day, though those longer spells of rain just moving into the Scottish borders, northern parts of England towards the end of the day. And clearer to the north of this, may see some sunny spells here, but still plenty of showers moving in around coasts. And temperatures around the same, once again struggling under cloudier skies, so feeling chilly where you do see the grey skies. And then for Sunday, once again, still plenty of cloud around, but by the afternoon likely to see a few more sunnier spells, but still plenty of rain across Scotland and some quite strong winds here at times for the second half of the weekend too. But on the whole, likely the better day of the weekend for many, but turning unsettled as we head into the new year with strong winds and some heavy outbreaks of rain.
Despite the morning rain, it'll be a nice, warm, cosy day ahead. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine getting the call to tell you that you've won £50,000 in tax-free cash, our biggest cash prize of the year.
Oh my God.
That's a big surprise.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
I'm in shock.
I'd say don't hesitate, do it.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. You can call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB10 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 31st of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
Today I am joined by documentary maker Daniel Wing, who is still trying to find out who murdered his mother 30 years on. He's also created a documentary called Who Murdered You, Mum? Daniel, can you just tell us the story of what happened to your mother, what you know?
So when I was 1 year old in 1992, my mum, Tina, was murdered. My dad went on trial for it and was acquitted, and the case went unsolved and has been unsolved for 32 years. My nan, who raised me, amazing woman, passed away sadly 2 years ago, and that kind of sent me on a quest for answers.
So your documentary then, what are you hoping to achieve with it?
I am fighting for justice for my mum. I have had a meeting with the police and they are looking to see what they have and are looking to reopen investigation if they can find new and compelling evidence. What's interesting now is speaking to other families who are actually going through the trauma and experience of murder.
Yeah.
My mum didn't get the opportunity to be a mum. What would my life have been? I'm now 33 years old with no parents. And it's that kind of thing. It's a very, I guess, lonely journey in what I'm experiencing. That's why I wanted to make this film, because I hadn't had the opportunity to be able to grieve my mother and know who she was, and that was really what this journey was about. It was about finding out who she was and being able to grieve. Everyone had the opportunity, although terrible circumstances, to be able to go to the funeral and have that moment, and I never had that opportunity.